Our new song is available for pre-order at getcominghome.com. Check it out. Download iTunes to pre-order and support our work. Let's jump to this story from the Post-Millennial. New York City Mayor Eric Adams to be arraigned on corruption and bribery charges on Friday. He's set to be arraigned after the indictment. Adams was charged with 5 counts, including conspiracy to commit wire fraud, federal program bribery, to receive campaign contributions by foreign nationals, wire fraud, solicitation of a contribution by a foreign national, and bribery. Adams, say bribery twice.
Sorry.
Oh, federal program bribery. Yeah. So it's a different thing. Adams,
I had that same thought when I was writing it, and I was like, didn't I already write bribery?
You know.
And yes, I had, but it was 2 different things.
Adams' official residence of Gracie Mansion was raided on Thursday morning, but I'm not going to read it. You wrote it. What's going on?
Yeah, so Adams is going to be arraigned tomorrow. I wonder if we're going to get a mugshot. That would be really quite a thing, you know. And he was indicted on Wednesday. The indictment was handed down. It was revealed in court today. And basically, the story goes, according to the Department of Justice, that Eric Adams, since he decided to run for mayor in, 2018 for his 2021 run, ended up involved with Turkish officials, people with Turkish airlines, that he was getting a whole bunch of free upgrades, you know, that anytime he had to travel, he would try and take Turkish Airlines because they'd give him free upgrades, that they also were funneling, Turkish Airlines and other Turkish officials were funneling campaign contributions illegally through straw man donors in the U.S. because it's not legal for them to contribute. Only individuals can contribute, and a whole bunch of other laws were allegedly broken through that the officials were like, how much can I give? And they found Turks in the U.S. to give them cash and funnel money that way. And then it's alleged that Turkey used their leverage over Adams recently, demanding that he get the Turkish consulate opened despite it having not passed fire inspection.
I believe it.
I believe that, you know, it's certainly, I mean, yeah, he definitely could have done all this stuff. New York is a very corrupt place.
The argument is selective prosecution.
That's what's interesting about it.
Right. Like, what was it, like $100,000 in gifts or something?
Yeah, there was $100,000. There was, but the other part that they're alleging too is that with the campaign contributions, New York also has this election matching program. So they give you election funds based on funds that you've raised. So they're saying that because of the illegal contributions that he got, he then leveraged those monies to get contributions, and he essentially defrauded New York by taking those matching funds.
He's claiming because he pushed back against Joe Biden, that's why they're coming after him. Donald Trump, speaking today, said, as soon as I saw Eric Adams complaining about the immigration, I said he'll be indicted within a year, and then he gets indicted. That being said, famously, Eric Adams was giving $4,000 per migrant family to permanently settle in New York, and it was a huge uproar only a couple weeks ago. So I don't really buy that the federal government was like, we better shut him down. Why? Because they wanted to go further than $4,000 per family to permanently settle in New York? I mean, that's egregious.
There were
one of his criticisms of the Biden administration, also one of Governor Kathy Hochul's criticisms, was basically, you are not issuing work permits fast enough for all these people who are here. I mean, they did push back against Biden. It's just not that they didn't become sort of pro mass deportation or anything. They pushed back in the way that you would expect a Democrat to, basically saying, you are not very good at this. You have created a problem we are now handling. That was all true. Give us more money and more resources right now, which, you know, on brand for them.
It was about a year ago that Eric Adams was saying that the border crisis was going to destroy New York City. He was very vocal about that, and he was actually heading down to Washington, D.C. when his former campaign manager's office was raided by the FBI. And so he never made it down there to the meeting of mayors to tell, you know, Biden that they were doing a bad job, to give him what for, you know. So he had to turn around, head back to New York, and deal with this whole scandal, which has continued to unfold.
As has the immigration issue in New
Right.
York.
I mean, there's been a lot of resignations recently. You know, who resigned?
Yeah, so I was just going to say that's the debate on X at the moment is Eric Adams obviously has facilitated the migrant crisis with the, you know, hotels being booked out just for migrants, the credit card scheme, and many other things as well. But it comes after Governor Hochul's former chief of staff was arrested, and they basically said that she was a Chinese. She was
Chinese agent.
A Chinese agent, basically a foreign agent. And then it comes, of course, the NYPD commissioner had to resign. So it all seems to be coming at once. And, Trump was obviously kind of suggesting that, it's because Eric Adams pushed back. Governor Hochul was pushing back. But they have also, as Tim said, they have allowed this to happen for the last few years. And, when you go to New York, it's very sad to see what's happening there. And there's a lot of crime. And, the NYPD are doing a great job, but they're struggling clearly.
Yeah. And
Real quick, Raymond G. Stanley Jr. chimed in and he said, now that Eric Adams is being indicted, right-wing influencers love him even though he's a race hustler and a POS. I'm tired of the grifting from the right.
I think the right is too quick to forgive Eric Adams on this one. I mean, you brought up the NYPD commissioner. His resignation is actually technically separate, right? It's an investigation into influence peddling having to do with nightclubs. Like, you would get a noise complaint, you pay people off, whatever. But to me, it does speak to maybe the culture of the cabinet that Eric Adams has surrounded himself with. People who view their office as an extension of their ability to influence the city and to seek benefits for themselves. The schools commissioner also resigned. I mean, to me, again, the fact that there are like multiple issues at play for one city. I mean, it's the largest city in America, but one city's governing body does not speak well of the person who appointed them, and that is Mayor Eric Adams. I do think he pushed back in his own way against the Biden administration. I don't think that necessarily means that he is a super ethical person. Remember, what he wanted from the Biden administration was more money and work permits.
He did want more money, and he wanted them to take responsibility for what they'd done. But I mean, there's something that you have to understand about New York City, which is Eric Adams was the most conservative candidate running, other than Curtis Sliwa, who is the head of the Guardian Angels and lives in a studio apartment with 20 cats. He lives in a studio apartment with 20 cats. It's hard as a New Yorker to vote for a single man who lives in a studio apartment with 20 cats.
I don't know. I don't even care what his politics are at this point. I'm sold.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So,
20 in one studio apartment?
This was what I remember reading at the time. This is a lot of cats.
I hope he featured them in his campaign ads.
He seems okay, but I don't know that he would have been able to wrangle the government under control either. I think we do need, a better mayor. John Catsimatidis is like an option.
How about Cuomo? He's going to run.
He is totally going to run, and he's going to win. He's definitely going to win. But
as a Republican?
I think he'd win no matter what he ran as. I don't think it would matter. He could run as an independent, and I think
run as
he
a
would.
libertarian because it'd be funny.
I think that he would win. But the people of New York still love Andrew Cuomo, and they don't think that any of the sexual misconduct allegations against him were legit. And I'll tell you something else. Neither does Letitia James, because they pushed him out of office with these sexual misconduct allegations. They didn't care that he killed a bunch of people in nursing homes. They just cared that he patted some girl on the butt and she didn't like the hug or whatever else.
Well, he was kissing people, remember?
Oh, no. He was
Italian.
kissing people.
He's Italian. You guys
just like my great uncles. Like, what are you
He posted all these pictures of him basically doing what he's accused of doing, being like, I'm Italian. What's the problem?
Hey,
huh?
The most New York defense I've ever heard.
Well, it's the truth. So they would totally vote for him. But they forced him out of.
Never brought charges.
No, they forced him out of office. She never brought charges against Cuomo because all they really wanted was to install Kathy Hochul, which they did do. And I feel like in this case, they definitely want to get rid of Adams. He was not the darling. Maya Wiley was the darling in this case, who all of the progressives wanted her to win the mayoralty back then. And she's the one who just recently appeared before Congress. And when asked what a woman is, said, a woman is anyone who says she is.
Well, the problem is now with the Eric Adams scandal, you've got progressives like AOC jumping on the bandwagon, basically calling for his resignation. Biden was asked earlier, do you think he should resign? And he just said, I don't know. Maybe just
Joe Biden doesn't know what's going on.
He doesn't know where he is anyway. But
I'm on vacation.
He called J.D. Vance the Secretary of Vance.
Right.
A lot of people in New York are worried now because if Eric Adams was to resign, there's Jermaine Williams, who's the city's public advocate. He could temporarily take over, and he's a radical BLM activist, mask loving. He is nuts. So he's been arrested multiple times. He's very much anti-police, anti-NYPD. So when you've got someone like AOC calling for for Adams' resignation. You know, you've got to think who's next in line.
Right.
Would be 10 times worse. Whatever criticism people may have of him with his handling of the migrant crisis, you know, a BLM activist that's anti-police in a city that's got so much crime, that's going to be 10 times worse.
It can actually definitely get worse, New Yorkers.
Yeah, I mean, it has been worse before. Look at Bill de Blasio. Bill de Blasio was worse than Eric Adams.
Remember how under Bill de Blasio, rats were running around attacking people?
Yes, I do remember that.
You were there, right?
I lived there under Bill de Blasio.
So people are walking around New York and they would see like 5 to 6 rats just running around looking for food because they're starving, and they'd like chase people.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, Bill de Blasio, who told whose COVID czar was engaging in sex parties, well, you know, rolling on
drugs.
ecstasy.
Yeah.
And, you know, he just figured he needed to let off some steam. That story really has me steamed personally. But you also had Bill de Blasio being like, everybody stay home and we're calling off New Year's Eve, even though that's what we're known for. And you guys can all watch live on CNN while Andy Cohen gets drunk and me and my wife dance in Times Square empty like tin pot despots.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That was crazy.
Was that the year they had the
What?
little quarantine stages?
Yep.
Yes.
So
And then he
Yes.
violates all the rules so
Yes.
he can have a private Times Square.
With his wife, who then they eventually like got divorced and had some sort of polyamorous thing, and now he's in Michigan. That loser.
why is he in Michigan? What is
Oh, he's like literally a professor. He's like teaching
course he is.
somewhere.
Didn't he like spend time in Venezuela or Cuba or something?
He did everything wrong. Just, I'm sure. He changed his name. His name is not like Bill de Blasio. He made that up.
Oh yeah, what was it? It was like Walter or something.
It was like Wilhelm
Oh, yeah,
something
Wilhelm.
German. Yeah.
It's so weird. We live in weird times.
It's very bizarre.
just very weird.
But so when Eric Adams showed up to try and run on the Democrat ticket, and the options were like Maya Wiley, whoever the legacy of Bill de Blasio was, and maybe it was Bill de Blasio. Was he running? He might have been.
think so.
Was he out? And Eric Adams. People went for Eric Adams because he was the more conservative choice. And then he did this crazy thing that my son will never forgive him for, which was instituting vegan lunches on Fridays in all New York City public
Oh,
schools.
for real?
Yes, he did.
Eric Adams?
Yeah.
'Cause he's an
He's
rabid
totally, yeah.
vegan. because
And then
he
my
cured all
son
of
would
his
come
health
home on
issues.
Friday and he'd be like, I'm starving.
That's messed up because the vegan food is garbage.
Yeah.
It's not food. I'm sorry, it's not food. When I was at the RNC, we were at a hotel and I was buying breakfast from the hotel. I'd go in and it's like $10 and you get all the eggs, bacon, sausage, whatever. On one day, I open up the sausage thing and I look at it and I'm like,
You could tell.
something doesn't look right. And I was like, I'll take one. I took it, and when I pressed my fork into it, it like excreted a milky fluid like a sponge. And I looked at it and I was like, what is this? And I took a piece and I started chewing on it and I spat it out. And I asked the waitress, I was like, this is not sausage. And she was like, no, it is. And I was like, no, it isn't. And she's like, let me go ask him. And then she came back out and she was like, we're sorry, that was vegan sausage. And I was like, dude, people could get sick from eating this. I'm not kidding. It's not food. It was disgusting.
It sounds really
I've known
gross.
people to have really serious allergic reactions to like vegan alternatives, right? Like
Oh,
there are
yeah.
vegan cheeses made of cashews. If you're allergic to cashews, you should probably know what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing too is there's plenty of cuisines in the world that are very strict vegetarian, that don't have dairy and all that, and they have centuries of making actual
this
good
work.
food. You know,
Yes.
we don't have to eat weird, fake, milky sausages.
Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe and we'll see you all there.